Well, hello everyone, and happy Mother's Day to all of you moms out there. It's been a rough Mother's Day for me, to be honest. I'm here in a different place, not with my kids. I'm far away. So I got a wonderful call this morning. It was so nice to be wished happy Mother's Day. And so sometimes everything isn't all that it's cracked up to be, is it? You know, life is hard. You're in different seasons. Sometimes it's perfect and sometimes it's not perfect. So I'm going to tell you what happened to me last night too on the Coquihalla. So I opened up my dad's Bible, and it fell open to Isaiah 60. It's interesting. It says, "Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon you. For behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. And the Gentiles shall come to thy light, and kings to the brightness of thy rising. Lift up your eyes round about and see all they that gather themselves together. They come to thee, thy sons shall come from afar, and thy daughters shall be nursed at thy side. Then shalt thou see and flow together, and thine heart shall fear and be enlarged, because the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee, and the forces of the Gentiles shall come to thee. The multitude of camels shall cover thee," whatever this means, "and dromedaries of Midian, and all of these other things, and Sheba. They shall bring gold and incense, and they shall show forth the praises of the Lord." It's a beautiful scripture. It's Old English, and it's talking about how God brings beautiful things. He gathers the sons and the daughters, and he brings them together in the gold and the abundance. And we might speak in a different way, but God was basically saying in this passage in Isaiah that arise and shine, because God is with us. And this has been quite the season. But before I get to some serious stuff, we're going to be talking a little bit about this video that's come out with Art Lucier. Some of you following from the United States of America, I'm just surprised how many of you are writing and talking about some dangerous situations that are going on in the United States, some concerning relations that are down there with some pastors and different things like that. And one guy wrote me today, and he says, I'm just feeling like, I'm just losing hope in ministry. There's just been so much that has come out. And, we kind of went back and forth on that a little bit. But at the end of the day, as there has been so many exposures, I believe it's for a good purpose, that God is about to reveal the right way. He's about to open doors to righteousness. He's about to bring fear, the fear of the Lord on the land, so that basically we do what is right before God, so that our churches are clean. There's not a hint of sexual immorality, that there is safety in the house of God, and it needs to be safe. And we'll see from an interview that I did earlier today with a precious woman named Teona Fifi. I love that name. It's so cute. And she's cute too. She's adorable, and she's a wonderful lady. She grew up in Kitimat, British Columbia, and her pastor was Art Lucier for a season, and she's now grown. She has 2 kids. Okay, but before we get to that, my Mother's Day present from the Lord. So I'm driving the Coquihalla last night, and I don't know, it's, I always have scenarios in my mind of like the worst thing that could possibly happen. One of the worst things to me that could ever happen is that your car breaks down, or you get a flat tire and you're by yourself on the Coquihalla and you have no cell service. Because many of you know that on the Coquihalla Highway in beautiful British Columbia, many parts of it, there's no cell service. There's no way to reach anybody. So it's getting down to being dusk. It's getting dark very fast. And I look on the dashboard, and one of my tires is going down like from 8, 7, 6, really fast. And now there's a flashing red coming up that I've got a problem on my vehicle. And it's going down, down, down to finally 0. And then I can feel my car thudding and thumping along. I'm like, oh no, what do I do? So I pull over to the side of the road, and immediately I try to get like cell service. And I have none. And there's barely anyone on the Coquihalla last night. I don't know why. It was a Saturday night. Maybe people are, staying over till a Sunday, might be busier, going back home on Sunday night. There was barely anyone on the highways. So I'm by myself. I have no cell service. I pulled over to the side of the road and I have a flat tire. At some point in my crazy thinking, I went to the back of the vehicle to see, like, how do I fix this tire by myself? So I told my husband this, and he laughed. So I dig up the back, and I figure out how to like push the thing in to get the, okay, I've got a spare tire, awesome. And there's a jack there, so I pull the jack out. I can't be that hard. And I'm looking at it, and it's in several pieces. Listen, guys, if you're going to make a jack, you got to put it into the vehicle in one piece. It has to, with a little sign that says, put this part underneath the car and push here, So it's in several pieces. I look at it, I start freaking out and hyperventilating, really. I'm like, what am I going to do? Then I get the brainy idea, well, I'll just get the tire out of the car, so that maybe someone will be driving by and will see that there's a tire here and there's a crazy blonde trying to, fix stuff. So I try to lift the tire out. Well, I bust one of my rings, so now I've lost the purple part of one of my rings. Like it came out. I don't know where it is. I'm hoping it's in the back of the vehicle, hon. We have to go check that. And so this tire, like, someone's got to make tires that don't weigh that much. Okay, girls can't lift that. All right? It's too heavy. All right? So make lighter tires, somebody, please, something more like durable but lightweight. So I try to lift, I can't, my ring's busted, so I kind of put everything back in the vehicle, and I'm like, I have no cell service, no one's driving by. It's getting dark. So I make this decision, I'm gonna have to drive. I can't just sit here and wait for, a serial killer to come and get me. I need to drive. So I'm thinking about all the things my husband's gonna say, like, you don't drive with the, with the tire flat and wear out the rims. I didn't know what was gonna happen. So I just start driving, and I drive for about 1 kilometer, kind of on the side of the road. Now people are driving by and they don't care that I have my flashers on and I'm on the side of the road. Nobody cares. I'm alone. I'm truly alone. And so I pull up to one area, finding there is an exit that's right there, and I think it was Sunset something. And so I try my car, I try my phone again, and I get through to my husband. So in this panic voice, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm on the side of the road, the tires are, the tire's gone. And of course he immediately knows I've done something very wrong. And I do remember at one point I was driving actually with one of the precious survivors, that have been sort of come out lately. I was driving with them earlier in the day before, and something flew off some guy's car. Like, I saw a little black thing. It just, I don't know how or where, it just flew across. It sounded terrible because it hit the car and we kind of drove over it. And I didn't mean to. I know I should have avoided that. But that's the only thing I can think, got my tire not working. So I'm like, I'm on the side of the road. What should I do? Should I, how do I get the jack together? And he's like, yeah, right. That's not going to happen. I'll call BCAA. So he's like, it'll be okay, honey. Someone will be right there for you. And he called BCAA. And it did take about an hour as I sat there just kind of like, trying not to wear down the battery, because what if the battery of the car dies, But now the guy was on his way. I got a call from them that they were on their way. So I sat there as it just got darker and darker, but at least I had my phone and I could text and let people know, so people could feel sorry for me. So I wanted that to happen for sure, because this was my least favorite moment of all time. Anyways, the guy showed up. It was awesome. And young dude, like, man, he just had that thing fixed in like 10 minutes flat. I wanted to get out and maybe watch how he did that, so next time I can do it myself. But yeah, no, it was too cold, so I didn't learn a thing from the incident, but I'm home safe and sound. I did get home like an hour and a half later than I had planned because I sat on the road, but it was interesting. And when you get kind of stuck on the highway of life, right? You're wondering how you're going to get out of it, who's going to help you. Sometimes you don't, have cell service to the great God above, and you don't hear him, and you don't know how you can communicate with him, but he's there. And everything works out. And everything worked out yesterday just the way that it should. So all is well. Today, it's Mother's Day, and I pray that you guys all had a wonderful day. Life is been a very interesting time this last 4 or 5, heading into 6 months, being in Kelowna, British Columbia, God bringing us here, and a continuing difficulty with the concerning things with Art Lucier. He was the pastor of Harvest Church. And so there's a video that has gone around, and it's from 20 years ago or so. And so we're going to talk to Tiona, who was there. I'm also going to play, and I think if that's ready, JT, maybe we can play the clip of a young woman named Rose, and she spoke with Brother John Alving, and she got some insight into this that took place. And then I'm going to show you a little bit of this video after this. Some of it shows up in this, but I do want to say viewer discretion is advised. And no one dies. Everyone survives. It's a difficult thing to watch, especially for girls, I think. I've heard from lots of guys, too, that have actually seen it, and they're not happy about this video. We're going to discuss all the ramifications, but maybe let's go to Brother John Alving's. He's very interesting, and I think he's put the whole thing on his channel, so go there and watch it. But this is a clip from a lady named Rose. She's very precious. She was there, and I want you to have a look. Take a look.
My friend Toby, she's a producer for Laura-Lynn Tyler, reposted my post. So Art Lucier has posted on my post. The video was debunked 20 years ago as a spoof, and he's the one that shut it down. He went on to say that people that are talking about this are duped, and that it's a false narrative, and that the RCMP and the mayor of the city have seen the video. Are you aware of that?
I had no idea about that.
Yeah, I have the screenshot right now. It's on my Facebook post. He says the mayor of the city has seen the video, and the RCMP have seen with it, and they've dealt with it. That's amazing to me that he's saying that public.
I think that's something to try and save face.
Is that what he's doing? It's peculiar to me why he would say that, but and as far as I know, he hasn't denied shooting the boys. It's incomprehensible. I just can't even imagine a grown man shooting a teenage boy in the back point blank, causing him to bleed, and then in a religious context. It's unthinkable to me.
Yeah, and you see, when you have toxic love growing up for so long, you don't see that these are red flags. I was thinking, if my son had come home with those welts, I would be out for blood.
Oh, could you imagine?
I have be out for blood. I would not stop until there was justice.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this has come up again. Like,
yeah, it is. I think it is absolutely important that we're talking about this for the safety of the church and everybody involved. And Art Lucier has exposed himself, claiming that he wasn't involved and it was photoshopped. It's a false narrative.
That's untrue. That is very much untrue.
Well, the what I don't understand, to be honest with you, Rose, is that I have the video. I have him putting his hands in the pot marks and laughing about it, as well as holding the gun. So it's bizarre to
I'd
me.
also like to say that the only reason why it was stopped was because he ran out of pellets.
Oh, is that what happened?
He had no more pellets. He took what was there, and there wasn't much in there, and he had also, there was stuff that was already in that gun.
Wow.
But yeah, there's I was trying to go through my Facebook because I still have pictures of them. Like, they were 5.5 years is not a small thing. I became someone very close to them. I was going to family dinners. I was going to family celebrations.
Wow.
I was actually going to Christmas dinners. You know, I was a part of that family.
Of the harvest.
Yeah, not only just the harvest, but the Luciers.
Oh, so you're very close with them.
Yeah, I helped out quite a bit. Like, quite a bit.
Here's the other thing. I don't hate Art Lucier in the slightest bit. In fact, he's got a beautiful family. He's very talented. My concern is for the church, and I hope the best for Art as well. And I hope he does the right thing and just goes away quietly, so people can heal.
Yeah.
But what he's putting on social media right now is ludicrous. So, well, I'm a pastor, so I want to encourage you. Are you okay spiritually? Are you?
I have not. I tried going back to church and whatnot, but
Okay.
I haven't gone back to church since I've been there because it was just,
It's too hard.
yeah. And then with all the churches knowing that I had been so faithful to the harvest for so long,
Right.
every time I would try to go somewhere, you know, I hate the gossip. I hate the, you know, well, why aren't you there? What's going on? You know, what's up? You know, it was more like, just leave me be and let me do what I need to do. But it never happened that way.
Okay.
And it's just a small town thing. You know what I mean?
One of the saddest parts to me in hearing Rose speak is about how she basically has not been back to church. This is the case as well with Joe. We're going to hear from Tiona in just a few minutes. And something is definitely wrong when the leadership of a church brings about multiple people not wanting to go back, and mainly because of traumatic events and different things that have happened. And so that has been, well, it's been a surprise to myself. It is also a surprise to many others that are now beginning to connect the dots from the Kitimat of 20 years ago to what is going on today in Harvest. And we know that Wes and Stacy Campbell, who I believe were like the mother and father of the house here at Harvest. I'm not exactly certain how all of that is, but I mean, it's a surprising thing, but it was called the Eagle's Nest. And I think that they termed that because there was a move of God here years ago, and they called it the Eagle's Nest. And when I came here, I actually called my first shows, the first name of the show, well, the only name, and then it was, you know, we removed ourselves from Daystar, but it was Laura-Lynn at the Eagle's Nest. And I wanted to pay homage to what God had done here. And so it has been a surprise to me what has ended up happening in that I've left. Now, the Word of God is just so clear that we are to love one another, but it is also clear that we are to expose. And this is a season of exposure. God is doing something. He is doing it across North America. He's actually doing it in different parts of the world, including Australia. So there's different things and different ways and different seasons that God has, but He is exposing. And so I didn't know that I would be here at this hour when some things have come out about Art Lucier. And it wasn't until I spoke with the victims who are bringing litigation against Art, alleging sexual assault. And until I spoke with them and heard their words and heard their testimony, and it had the ring of truth, if you know what I mean, and I believed them. Until then, I was somewhat aghast at some of the things I would find out. I was alarmed. I spoke and started speaking with many different members of the survivors' Facebook page and more and beyond. And I didn't want to believe it because I had stood with my brother Art Lucier to the point of telling Brother John Elving to please cool your jets and please don't report on him. Like, leave it alone, you know. What are all these allegations truly about? I didn't know any of the people. I didn't know what the hubbub was about. It was hard to get to the bottom of it. But how I got to the bottom of it was I just decided I'd start listening and not talking. I decided I would start listening to what they had to say and not defending Art to the point where there's no listening. There's no connection with what's going on. And when I started listening, I found myself in the middle, in the very city, in the middle of a huge controversy that affects Canada because many people loved Art, loved going to the battles for Canada. And it was upon finding out that on Reddit, there was a picture of Art with the Battle for Canada shirt on, and he didn't have his bottom covered. When I found out that that was on Reddit, and the team knows this, the oversight committee knew about this, that was a big turning point. That was just like, what is going on? Where's the fear of God? I know Art is Art, but where's the fear of God? And I had to start trying to discern what is really happening here. Who is this person? And see, I've appreciated Art. I've appreciated that he, had these events, that he knows how to kind of gather and rally people. I can't say I had a personal close relationship with him. It wasn't, it wasn't like something I could say that there was an emotional connection there at all. It was sort of like the business of it all, and hey, how are you doing, and rah rah. And other than knowing he was not happy with me exposing Daystar, he called me to say that I shouldn't be doing that, don't touch God's anointed, and he was concerned about that. At which point, as I've told you all, I said, you don't need to be concerned. I'm hunting down people that are doing evil in the house of the Lord and in ministries. I'm not touching God's anointed. Why would I do that? I would never want to do that. I'm tracking predators, pedophiles. I'm tracking people who are spiritually abusive. It's okay. You don't need to worry, Art, is what I said. I'm not going after God's anointed. So this video comes to light here. And now Wes and Stacey Campbell have voiced their opinion that Art should step down, he and Heather together. So far, Art has chosen to step aside. Heather continues in her full functioning. And this just is too serious. It's just not going to work. So obviously, Wes and Stacey spoke into this and have been those who have. We actually have that video, JT, if you can show when Wes and Stacey were praying for them. And it's the one where Nicole's on the stage and Art and Heather are kneeling. And, they gave them some, support and covering for being ministers here. So the latest is that there has been this video that has come out, and I'm going to just say, if you have kids in the room, just maybe watch this later or make sure that this is not in their eyesight. It was hard for me to watch. I'm going to say what I've learned from the interview that Brother John Elving did with Rose today is that the boys actually, they weren't tied by anyone with their hands up, but they had their hands over their heads because they were kind of hanging on or had kind of, just put their hands there because they didn't want their arms to be hit. That is what Rose said. So there's an air gun involved, and I want you to see Art Lucier many years ago, and we're going to get to the bottom of what he says, how this happened. I'm going to read his statement later with Tiona, and but I want to show you what the hubbub is and sort of what some of the stress and pressure that people are feeling after seeing something like this. Take a look.
All right, so what are we doing here today? What's going on, man?
Taking up our sufferings for Christ.
Taking up your sufferings for Christ. Okay.
Suffering.
No. Yes, you are. Or, yes, you will. All right.
Bring it on, man.
Okay, it's recording.
Yeah, you gotta make sure there's no white beads, man.
No, there's not. There's absolutely not.
Did he get the gun on the camera?
No,
Make sure
I don't
you
know.
get back, not my neck, not my I didn't get the gun yet.
Dude, don't aim at it.
This is a 325 per feet per second airsoft gun. Oh! It's stuck. I see a mark. Dude, it's bleeding. Dude, that's a mark, man. What?
Someone tell.
Oh, that left a mark.
Oh! 6. I think we're out here again.
Okay, breather.
Tingling, yeah.
Hey guys, so what just happened? What just happened here?
Dude, my back. That's what friggin' happened.
So we are at 45 airsoft shots from a pistol grip shotgun, 325 feet per second. So the challenge goes out to take them. Are you a soldier?
Do something.
Do something. Yeah. All right. So signing out from Kitimat.
So that's very hard to watch. I'm going to just say that let's talk to Tiona. So earlier today, no, scratch this part, JT. I don't know if you want to. So yes, that is very hard to watch. And I'm going to bring you to an interview I was able to do earlier today with Teona Fifi. She was there. She gave Art a warning. She wanted him to shut it down. Her and her parents attended at his church. And so this is Teona Fifi. Tiona, thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate it. Obviously, this is a very hot issue right now going on with things blowing up on the internet regarding the latest with Art Lucier being involved in an air gun incident. And you know all about that because you were there. But your beginning time with Art Lucier and the church began after there was a church split and Art had kind of wanted to go a certain way, I think in the Pentecostal church.
Yeah.
And your family left with Art to begin a new work. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of the things that you noticed when you were young is in this split and everything, it was kind of a difficult part for you because you didn't really trust Art. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so when the split happened, it was pretty rough, not gonna lie. Like our church, from the Pentecostal, it was really rough just in the split of it all. Um, and then too, like when my dad told me that we were gonna be going to um this new church called the Harvest Church, and it's run by Art, and I've known Art. I had a bad feeling about it. I didn't trust him from the get-go. I didn't like his spirit. I just, there was just something that felt off about him that I, as a young girl, just didn't like. So
And I
yeah.
think it echoes sort of what Michelle said. I did an interview with Michelle Harker, and her word for Art was reckless. And
Yeah.
in spite of that, this is one of the lesser things that he's being accused of right now with the essay of minors now having litigation in a court of law in Canada and coming forward, alleged there are charges that he has been very inappropriate sexually with people that were underage. That being put aside for now, there's this side of Art that Michelle described as reckless, and you also say that this feeling of unsafety was there. And you were there the night that the air gun incident happened. Is that right? Can you tell us from your perspective how that night went down?
Yeah. So we were just gathered, like I was 16 at the time. We were just gathered at one of the youth's house. It was two young adults and one youth that was just on his way to graduating high school that all roomied together. And it was a Friday night. It was just all of us just lounging out. We were playing video games and, just hanging out, snacking. Pretty sure there was pizza, like just hanging out as youth. Two of the boys, one was a boy, 16 years old, same age as I was. And the other was 21, but just because he was an adult, it didn't make it right. He was also Art's foster kid at some point. And he would also be considered a vulnerable person in Canada. Like he's just considered a vulnerable person, not going to get deeper into that. But, there should have been a sense of responsibility to lead these kids into, a right direction, stop them if they're on a self-harming path. But yeah, so these two boys, they decided that they were gonna get these BB guns and they were just gonna shoot each other with the BB guns. One of the girls had just gotten herself a video camera. And so they were like, oh, let's videotape it. And then one of the boys got the idea to get Art along into this with the videotaping. And then one of the boys he was texting Art and he was like, hey, you should bring your BB gun over. And he was just texting. And then they got Art on board. Art was just like, oh, yeah, I'll be there. Like, no hesitation. He was all for it. And so as they got Art on board, they were still texting Art, and Art was already on his way. He got the gun, the BB gun, and it looked like a shotgun. And they were just like, the story of what was about to occur got bigger and bigger. All of a sudden, it became this thing of taking up the sufferings for Christ, and like they were goofy boys, right? little bit of a dark sense of humor, especially from where they came from. But absolutely, Art was the one who is shooting the gun. He brought the boys had their own pistols for like these BBs. But Art brought his own, which was absolutely more powerful than what these boys had, right? Yeah, and yeah, it's just sick.
Tiona, it is sick, and I know that this is hard for you to talk about because you can't even really look at this video. It's still
Yeah.
so disturbing to you.
Yeah.
Art brought his own. We can see the air rifle in the videos. Is that? Can you confirm that's the one that he used?
Yeah,
Can
that was
you
Art's
confirm
rifle.
it was his rifle? And do
Yeah.
you believe he did all the shooting, some of it, or none of it?
He did all of it. I do believe Corbett might have done one shot on one of the boys, but all the rest was Art. It
You
was
saw
all
that?
Art. Yeah, I saw that. There was no one else that took, yeah, absolutely not. It was all Art. Prior, so when Art got to the house, because he wasn't there originally, when he got to the house, and Art and the boys were talking, I had such this sick feeling in me. I was just like, no, this can't happen. Like, this is gross, right? And Art, the boys went down the stairs, and Art, he was about to go down. He had the rifle, the shotgun, BB gun, airsoft. And I looked at him and I said, "You have to stop this." And then he looks at me and he says, "Well, they would be doing it anyway. At least I'm there." And I was like, "No, you have to stop this." Because in all reality, had Art not showed up, it would not have turned that dark the way that it did. We also had this thing with the youth group. We were pretty tight knit. We were a very close group. We were all very close friends. We hung out almost every single day. We had a way of keeping each other accountable. Doesn't mean that, nothing was going to happen at all, but it wouldn't have been that to that extent. And, like, let's leave the fact out that Art was a pastor or apostle or prophet. Let's leave all that out. He was a 38-year-old man. He was 38. I'm 33 right now. And I have like some sense of responsibility to be like, for all the young people around me. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you're 38-year-old. Like, let's, leave the pastor part out of it. Where is your sense of responsibility for these men, these young men, young boys that come up to you that have these hearts that were hurt and broken from their past? And some of them had self-harm. It's almost a lack of care for their own bodies. And like, where was the way to show them how to actually be men? Being men isn't what you can put your body through. It just Art often, he said this with another story, because I often looked at Art with kind of this disgust look, because I was like, what are you doing? What are you thinking? Like, why are you doing this? And he would look at me and he would say, well, imagine that they're willing to do this. This was his saying. If they're willing to do this, imagine what they're willing to do for Jesus. But absolutely not.
So you're a mom, and we're actually shooting this interview on Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So congratulations and happy Mother's Day.
Same with you. Happy Mother's Day to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Our children are our most precious and beautiful gifts from God. What would you think if your kids had gone to a church? I think one of these boys was 16 at least.
Yep.
I heard
16.
14, but then I heard 16.
No, he was
so
16
and 21.
Yep.
16.
Yeah.
And if your young son was going to a church, and the leader, on an off night, I guess at someone's home, had shot your son almost 40 times. What would you think of that?
I, um, I first of all, I would go to the police. That is the first thing. But honestly, I'm a mother bear to my boys. I, if you touch my boys like that, if you hurt them like that, I'm sorry. I'm probably going to end up in jail myself. That's just reality. You don't do that to my boys. And I struggle so much to understand how a mother can defend this. Because yes, it was kind of the boy's idea, but this he was a 38-year-old man who is not only had the label of a pastor, he also was very involved with the youth, also a foster parent at that time. Where was the sense of responsibility? Like, are you kidding me? I remember there was an excuse once that he was just young and dumb. No, you're not. You're 38 years old. The boys in that video, yeah, they're young and dumb. Not you. You don't get that pass. Absolutely not.
I'd like to read into the record Art Lucier's response to all of this that has come out. He says, yesterday, I believe, "Hey friends, 20 years ago, some crazy youth did a spoof video while being fake tied up." Now, right here, I'd like to address two things. I don't know what a spoof video means in relation to this. Spoof is usually, we're pretending to do what is on the screen.
Yeah.
But it really happened.
It really happened.
The blood is real.
The blood is
the
real.
shots are real.
I cleaned up one of the boys' backs. Rose cleaned up the other boy's back. And
And she talks about having to dig things out of the back. So does that mean there's definitely two shooters?
no, it was one shooter. He just shot both the boys back and forth.
Okay, and was there actual like BB guns, or it's not just air?
Like it was the airsoft with BBs.
Oh, okay.
So it had these
See, I'm not
beads.
very
That's totally fine.
understanding
I
this.
didn't play often with BB guns or airsoft guns either, right?
Right.
But
Okay, so he says while being fake tied up. Can you tell me how they got tied up? I don't understand that part.
they were duct taped, but in reality, the duct tape wasn't actually the boys, they could, if they wanted to, they could release themselves, right? Like it wasn't like they weren't in reality like tortured. Like in that aspect, you can say, yeah, it looks a little dramatized. But that was just how the video looked. No one created that spin-off. It's just that's what it looks like.
Did they tie them up before Art arrived?
No.
Who tied them up?
That I don't remember. Most likely Art, but I don't remember.
But you
who
don't
tied
know.
them. Yeah, I don't remember
I'd
that.
like
And
to
I'm not
know.
going.
Somebody.
I'm not looking in that video to figure it out either. I don't want to look at.
And they're already tied up in the video. Rose may know, and I just thank God for people that are courageous, that are willing to speak out on this. And I also honor Dustin, and we're going to hear his words here shortly. So, being shot by an airsoft gun, Art says, plastic BBs way less damaging than the old paintball guns. I did do paintball when I was young, out in a field. Okay. In any case, it was debunked. So 20 years ago, for what it was, but YouTubers and other wonderful people, notice the word wonderful, it keeps being repeated. Wonderful people keep sharing it out, but are now adding to it. Wonderful Photoshop, etc., implicating me in it. Truth is, I shut it down, but accusers, etc., don't seem to want to listen. In any case, the youth in the video and the one who originally made the video, though I told him not to post it, had heard the video resurfaced in these wonderful times. He wrote this to me this morning and asked me to share it out. Sorry for those who were and are panicked by watching and listening to one side of things. So video doesn't lie. I'm just going to say that. straight up. It's a beautiful thing. It doesn't lie. We were all different 20 years ago. Let us all be gracious and careful not to judge by any one side of gossip, etc. For those who were and are genuinely hurt by our lack of wisdom, love, and grace back then, well, definitely no love and grace then or now, I humbly apologize and ask for forgiveness. Pray for us as we navigate these interesting times. Now, this is by Dustin Pridham that has put this out publicly. To whomever this may concern, my name is Dustin Pridham, and I wanted to address this video. I need to go to the next page. Okay. This video I made nearly 20 years ago that apparently resurfaced. First off, this video was mine and my buddy's plan and idea. It had nothing to do with the youth group we were a part of at the church we went to. We were just all good friends who made ridiculous and outrageous decisions according to our twisted and misunderstood humor. Never could I have foreseen my dark humor come back decades later to try and do damage to our youth leader, who was barely involved, other than shooting all of the shots.
Other than shooting the shots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we recorded many videos for shock value. I called us the Fear Factory generation.
Fear
You
factor
could
generation.
dare me to do nearly anything, and I would come through no matter the cost. Prideful and immaturely, I would one-up anyone who said they could do better. I oftentimes would come up with stupid ideas that nobody else had done. Boys will be boys, I guess. According to memory, I wanted to do 50 shots to the back, and it was actually Art who shut it down early, realizing that this was a dumb idea and could not bear to watch more. Me throwing the comment out there that I was taking up my sufferings for Christ was absolutely wrong and twisted for me to say, and obviously not true. But if you knew me at the time, you'd understand. Just a second here. Also, this video has been edited and fabricated to look a lot worse than it was, I might add. Yeah, I'm not sure why Dustin's saying that, and I honor Dustin for speaking. I have no ill will to this precious man. I saw his Facebook page. It looks like he has a child now, or
He's got a
children.
couple kids. Yeah.
A couple kids. Beautiful.
Yeah. He's doing well in life.
Good for him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the only thing that just really sucks is that, I even think of my own boys, right? I have two boys and, they're not even of that age yet, but they do silly things, right? My kids they put a laundry basket over their heads and then threw themselves down the stairs. I was in shock, and it was like, what are you doing? And it's my, whose responsibility is it to make sure that behavior stops and we make sure we don't break our necks down the stairs? That's my responsibility. So, kids will be kids. Adults, they should know better.
Need to be adults.
38-year-old man should know better. So
I'm just curious as to why Dustin is saying this part, because I want to hear him. His perspective matters. But he's saying this video has been edited and fabricated to look a lot worse than it was, not justifying it. It just simply is not the original rough copy of the drama. The video actually we're presenting is completely unedited. I got it in its rawest form. And if it looks bad, it's because
it is bad.
It looks really bad.
It's because it is bad. Me watching
and every parent.
Me watching that go down, it was horrible. When I was so sick because I tried to stop it and it didn't work. Right. And
you had asked him, you said, you need to stop
Yeah,
this. You looked him in the eye and said, you need to stop this.
And here's the thing too, let's say he believed those two boys are gung-ho for this. If you have more than myself and another youth went up to him, I know one of the youth Hiram had protested as well. I'm not sure how that went down, but I know what I said, right? And if they're saying, hey, this is wrong, maybe listen to some degree, take in other people's concerns and opinions of what's going on. That's insane. And it was at a youth function per se, because it was a Friday night. That was our youth night. It just so happened to be a lot more chill youth night prior to the gun incident, right? So it was a youth function per se. Yeah.
Right, and the pastor's there.
Yeah.
So Dustin continues. It's just simply not the original rough copy of the drama. I am also hearing now that Art forced us to do this or wanted us to do this. I haven't heard that.
I
Have
haven't
you
heard
heard
that
that?
either.
I haven't heard
Nope.
anyone say that they were
No.
forced. No,
No, they were not forced.
no.
That's the thing.
No,
Like,
and you can tell
yeah,
in the video, which is why
yeah,
video is accurate. That video
yeah.
shows that they laughed actually at times when they were getting shot early
Yeah.
on. It wasn't so funny after about 25
No, it's sickening.
shots
Like, I
to the
can't
back.
believe that happened. It's seriously sick.
Yeah.
When I got home that night, I was so like, I walked home afterwards after I cleaned up the boys' back. I walked home. They were still gathered, but I felt so gross by what had happened. So I walked. And I got home to my place, and my parents were home, and I just like got home and I couldn't stop puking. It was just like the extreme, something's so wrong, it's so off. And the anxiety, it was just horrid. And
It's
my parents,
traumatizing.
yeah,
It was
my parents,
traumatizing for me to even watch it.
it's sick. And then my parents knew something was wrong with me, so they asked me what was wrong. And I was like, and I told them everything. I told them that Art was the shooter. I told them absolutely everything. And my dad did take some like responsibility. From what my dad told me, is that he actually confronted Art on the situation. And then Art told my dad to apologize on his behalf. Which was insane because he was always in the youth group. He should have apologized to me directly. You know what I mean? He had a personal
And
relationship at
perhaps
that point.
everyone.
And everyone. Absolutely. It wasn't until somebody got their hands. So someone uploaded this on YouTube way back when it happened. Back in 2007. And it quickly got shut down. Art asked for it to, be taken down, but someone downloaded it, and they kind of were the holders of that video for a while. And then I think it was back in 2012, they made DVDs and sent it to absolutely everyone that was in the Harvest Church. No one knows who it is. I don't know who it is, but thank you. Seriously, thank you. Because like, it was just kept so hush hush to some degree of what had happened that night. And it's terrible. It is
Tell
terrible.
me
It's
about
not.
that. Why was it kept hush hush? Who kept it hush hush? What is it?
I
Just a
think that
sense like it
I
was
think just
so bad?
people just weren't talking about it. Like, if you talked about something that happened in the church, like, you were basically, oh, this person's a gossip for talking about what actually happened. Like, so many people who spoke up about things that happened, that's what like, oh, don't be attacking of the brethren, don't be going after God's anointed. If someone would confront Art about something, he would say something like, I'm not a pastor, right? But then he would
Yes, he's
also
told me that
say,
as well.
yep, but
But he
he
is.
put himself in that position. No one else put him in there. He put himself in that position. He made the Harvest Church. You know, that's every position that he was in, he put himself in. And
Why would he
also,
not call himself a pastor then?
yeah, because he wasn't allowed, probably. Like, I heard he only did a month of Bible college and got kicked out. He kind of told a different story along the lines of that he did a semester. He did a month. I find that wild.
Right. We've heard this tale of what happened in
Yeah.
Bible college.
Yeah.
was it trying to avoid responsibility? Like, I'm here,
Absolutely.
I have this power, but I have no responsibility. I'm not the
Yeah.
pastor.
He avoids accountability to no end. Like, first he'll say, well, I'm not a pastor. So, like, that was his way of running from accountability. And then the other ways that they would say is, if you have a problem for the pastor, you pray for the pastor. Like, don't come to your problems with me. If you have a problem with me, you pray, right? And that's another way he tried to keep from accountability. Um, it's just,
Mm-hmm.
all these sayings, everything that to them was like this biblical nature of, not going after the apostles and, the anointed, God's anointed.
Right.
Um, it's
Let
wild.
me just continue with Dustin's to get his final thing, because what you're
Okay.
saying is so important. And it's not just this incident. You
Yeah.
have an experience that goes beyond this incident. And
Yeah.
your trauma that you experienced in this, I would have felt the same. I would have been throwing up as well. And
Yeah.
it is alarming. But in fairness to Dustin, this is what he says: Art has never harmed me or put me in any harm's way at any time. And I appreciate Dustin. I'm just not sure if he sees that he's not really seeing what happened here. He was very harmed. Other people were mentally harmed.
Yeah.
This was not something that anyone ever thinks should happen. And even if it was Dustin as a 21-year-old's idea,
Yeah.
and I know he's trying to protect Art, but I'm just
Yeah.
wondering if one day when his boys are 14, 16, 20, 21, they're going to church. You're happy they're going to church because Lord knows it's a hard
Yeah.
thing to raise kids these days. So you want them
Oh,
to be in church.
absolutely.
But they end up at someone's home and they get shot in the back and they come home with these welts. Or God forbid
Yeah.
more. This is a dangerous thing that happened.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine if it had just gone a bit wrong. Would he want his child to be in that light? So I
Yeah.
just put this to Dustin. I don't know him. I honor him. And it's nice that he's trying to take the fall. But I want you to also understand one more thing, Dustin. Art is refusing to take any responsibility. And you, the young guy, is taking
it
all of it. And you're doing it right now. You're defending Art, and Art again taking no responsibility.
Yep.
Okay, so let's continue to read. Dustin says, he's never harmed me. He was my voice of reason when my dumb ideas would get too radical. I am not justifying my actions at all. Again, Dustin just so willing to take this. And, I love a kid who takes responsibility. You were wrong, definitely. You shouldn't have done it. But there's more to this. All right. So I'm not justifying my actions at all, but considering the time that has passed and the implications and motive this resurface has is wrong and misguided. I take full responsibility for my decision to make this video and regret it completely. But the archaeology this spirit is moving in and people allowing it to move in is wrong and demonic. Never is it okay to dig up old sins of a person's past to try and tear them down or strengthen their case against them. So at no time are we trying to tear down Dustin or the young man. Art is not trying to say that he's actually much in the wrong here. He's saying you're in the wrong, Dustin.
Yeah.
Art is throwing you under the bus.
Yeah.
And I hope that there might be a time that gets a little bit more obvious to you, especially as the harm that Art has done and the allegations that have come forward are broad. It's not just about this incident. And I think that's why this has come up at this time, because people are upset about what else has happened.
Yeah.
So, no matter the sins, no matter the past, only repentance, forgiveness, and forward. This resurgence of old unforgiveness and past unresolved hurts from many years past is sickening and unfruitful, to say the least. Very saddening to see so-called Christians dig up the past to serve justice in their own way, playing God in order to find whatever closure they think they need. I'm not about to break down the whole parable of the just unmerciful servant and many other scriptures on here, clearly showing this form of justice is wrong and unchristlike, regardless of the sins. I'm assuming Dustin is a Christian today?
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, he's,
yeah.
huh.
He's
Okay.
he's
Yeah,
a
we'll give him that.
Christian.
All right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
he's just. I think
However,
he's decided to stay away from. I'm not going to talk on that actually. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, Tiona. We'll leave it. He's quoting scripture, so it's good.
Yeah.
Regardless of the sins, however, I deeply apologize to the world for my decision to make this immature, disgusting film and the implications it has caused. And I apologize to you, Art, for involving you when you did. And thank you for stepping in and shutting down the drama early. Never could I have thought one of my decisions would be used against you this many moons into the future. I'm truly sorry. And I see that he is very fond of Art. And so we can take that down now. And Art is fond of Dustin, I assume, but is allowing Dustin to take the fall for this publicly to the whole world. Yep, it wasn't me. It was Dustin's idea. Yes, I pulled the trigger 40 times. And yes, I shut it down at the end. Did he?
He
It
shot
was
it.
bruised and, yeah.
He was wanting to go for 39 shots, and he stopped at 37. So I mean, hurrah! He stopped it. Like, 37
At
to
37
39.
shots total?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so 16 and 15, you know,
Yeah.
on one or the other boys. Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you were
to me,
there,
that's a bogus. It's a bit bogus. To just say, "Oh, I shut it down early." You know, that's his.
yeah.
You know, that
They showed the
he's.
video of the end. It didn't seem like he was going, okay, that's enough of this. This is terrible. So
Yeah,
the video speaks for itself.
it does.
Do you have anything more to say about that you haven't said?
No, not really. I just, Art. My thing with this, as the story has kind of unfolded, is that Dustin's really taken on the responsibility, and it's like, where is Art? Like, where is Art? Why is he letting Dustin take the fall for this? This is insane. When you are a leader, you literally that should be you taking on the fall more, even if it wasn't like necessarily your, you know what I mean? He's just allowing everyone because it's self-preservation, right? That's all he cares about. He doesn't care, in my opinion, he's not caring about other people's feelings. Even just taking on your own sin there, Art's part in it. It shouldn't have happened. Just shouldn't have. And yeah.
Amen. There was other things that, so Art was the head of this youth group. And we have a video of you guys being out and about one night in the dark. And I'll kind of just show this over this part. So Art is basically, you can see his face. It's in the dark. He's driving. Tell me about this night.
I hear mud! We feel it! Oh no, you have mud in your hair!
Just leave it.
What?
Just leave
It feels really chunky and gross, but it's probably really small.
Tell me about this, Tiona. What
Someone peed
is
themselves. I
happening?
smell something.
Yeah. So we were just, most likely a Friday night. We're just driving on the back roads of the Kitimat roads there. We're driving through the river and, up all the dirt stuff. It was all of us girls in the truck. There's me right there. So it was a lot of fun per se, but it also was pretty dangerous. The back seats of his truck were not bolted down to the ground. like not to the ground, but to the truck there. So any bump that he went off, we actually went flying up. We actually weren't secured in the truck. And the truck also didn't have like a top or lid. So yeah, like we could have easily flown out of there. It just, yeah, the words reckless, not right. At the same time, you know, you can hear we're all having fun, we're laughing, there's all of us girls, but you know, you're carrying a bunch of people's kids in that vehicle. There were no sense of responsibility for other people's children, I believe. So
You also had another incident where you were in a red van.
yes, we were on our, it was the youth group, and we were on our way to a church function at in the village there. Art had this red minivan. We were just going to an event, and there wasn't enough seats for everyone in Art's van. So he had me sit in the middle, in between, in the first row there was these two seats, and then there was space in the middle where there was no seat, and he had me sit there. And yeah, so there was no seatbelt, no seat, no nothing, just me sitting there. And we were going down the village road, and it's a very windy road. And he was speeding, and I'm rolling around in this red minivan everywhere. And then all of a sudden, as he speeds up, he also slams on the brakes, and I go flying head first. My head was about to make contact with the windshield, and him in his hand, he just reached out and he caught me with my forehead there, and he stopped me from flying through the windshield. But essentially, that's, you know, that's reckless, that's dangerous. Like, my parents were absolutely like Tiona, put on your seatbelt. So doing that to someone else's kids, you know, that's insane. It's not right. It's reckless. It's absolutely
Did
reckless.
you ever speak to your parents about that incident, do you think?
I don't remember if I spoke to them about. I think I did that one. I don't think I spoke about the truck not having being bolted down, but I do believe I spoke about the minivan incident. I think
It's funny when you're kids, you don't really tell your parents what's going on, and parents will assume that you're in good care.
Yeah.
Did you ever talk to your parents about, there was this youth event of eating live goldfish?
Oh God. Yeah. I have no idea if I told them or not. The night is a bit blurry, but what I do remember of it is, yes, again, it was a youth function. Not all of us just hanging out. It was a youth function at the Pine Plaza. It was we bought a mini mall before we bought the theater. And yeah, Art had purchased a bunch of these goldfish, and he was doing this Fear Factor challenge nights. And one of the challenges was you grab one of the goldfish, you put and they're alive goldfish. You put it in your mouth, and either you chew it up or you swallow it. Like, you chew it up while it's alive, or you swallow it while it's alive. I cannot even remember. I did not partake in that. I just watched it. And I was in shock. Like, I was just like, what am I watching here? Like, what is going on? And like, I looked over at Art, and I just like, I have these eyes of like, what the hell is going on? Like, what are you doing? And then that's when he leaned over and he said, well, imagine what these kids are willing to do. Like, imagine what they're willing to do for Jesus, for the Lord, right? And that's how he would justify everything that was going on, because he knew I was not okay with most of the stuff that went on.
What about the other girls, the other kids?
Yeah, some of the girls were actually trying to save the goldfish because they were just like, they were also disturbed by it, you know? There were some of the guys that were completely on board with this situation, but it's not right. You don't do that. It's messed up. It's wrong. And yeah, no.
Can you recall, because a lot is trying to be discerned about Art Lucier, his heart for ministry. I've been asking people, like, do you remember him being sympathetic, empathetic, like really helping you through tough times, or you really felt his heart of caring?
Yeah. No. I'm gonna say no. I went through a really tough situation that it still affects me. It's something that, so back in the Pentecostal church, how do I describe this one? So when I was 16, my friend was murdered by her father. She was murdered by her father, and her father said that he believed God had told him to kill his daughter. He was schizophrenic. We just didn't know it at the time. But she just lived 2 doors down the street from me, just a few doors down. And so when I entered the Harvest Church, right? It was prior in the Pentecostal church. Art and myself. Sorry, I'm kind of stumbling on this one.
It's okay. It's hard.
Yeah. We were all very close knit. Art knew the dad that had murdered the girl. We all went to the Pentecostal church together. We were all very close knit. I was really good friends with this girl. We went to dance group together. We went to choir together. We swam together, skated together. We walked to school almost every single day together. I used to be this very quiet girl, and that girl, she had a heart for me, right? And she would always make sure I was stepping out of my boundaries, like she was just this amazing girl. And so in Art too, he would have been aware, he was very aware that this girl and I were close. We all went to the same church together. They did not come to us when we all moved to the Harvest Church, right? Some people kind of went different ways, and so did this family. They went to another church afterwards. But Art still continued to be friends with this man that murdered his father afterwards, his daughter. And he was also aware that I was close with this girl. And so was my dad. My dad, like they all knew. And so yeah, so she just lived a couple doors down the street from me. The night after it happened that she was murdered, it was just a few nights after. We had our Saturday night service, and everyone was gathering at the Harvest Church. And like something like that happening in our small town, it affected everyone. It really did. And of course, it's going to be a shell shock, and of course, people are going to be talking about it. But so almost everyone in the Harvest Church, they didn't know that I was close with Stephanie. Oh, I said a name. They didn't know that I was close with her. And when I got there, it was just a giant gossip fest. And it was mainly led by Art. Art was, he talked about how the father, he knew that something up was up with him that week. He was just like, yeah, he was behaving weird, and he just wanted to be in the know. He's talking with all these different people. I was right there, right beside him, and it didn't even occur to him to sit there to like literally realize that I had just lost my friend. I had just lost a good friend that I'd been walked through since I was, I don't know what, 7 years old. Um, and that was when I was 15. Just a 15-year-old. And yeah, Art and Heather, they gave no condolences. There was no worry for what I was going through. They absolutely knew that I was close with this girl.
And
And
no
there
warmth.
no warmth, no even wonder as to what my walk with God was doing at that time, right? Because like if I just, I can't imagine just like looking back and being like, this girl, her father murdered her of claim that, God has told him to kill her, right? And there was no, like, so he wasn't a pastor, he wasn't even a human being at that point because no care, no warmth, no nothing, and neither from Heather. And she knew well, dang, she knew what as well. So, like, what created you to be a pastor? Like, what is a pastor? They're the shepherds. You know what I mean? Like, I can't even imagine. I literally can't imagine not talking to that what I was, a 15-year-old. My heart was absolutely shattered in a ways that you know what I mean? Like, absolute, there was no
Yes.
warmth, absolutely none.
It is
No,
surprising, churches, to be a safe place, and we want people to be caring about us, especially if something really traumatic happens.
yeah,
And it's just that it's not the only story that I hear, in person after person, and that's the struggle. That's the struggle that we're facing right now.
yeah.
And you say, Heather, as well, you had concerns regarding some of his behaviors, feelings towards the other young girls that were in the youth group.
Yeah. It's something I'm not gonna talk too much on, but yeah, there were definitely behaviors that were not right. And I'm just gonna say what I think is going on there is that this is the way I see it, massive impulse control issues. Very reckless, but impulse controls. Um, and then also the need to control everything around him. Um, there's something sick about that. Something very sick. And that's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
Yes, and things that you witnessed. Was there a situation where you were in an apartment and he had a key to your apartment?
It wasn't my apartment, but I was there. There was this lady who, it was when I was 13 years old. And there was this lady that she was a very new Christian, very new Christian. But she did have a heart for the youth, especially Native Indigenous youth. She was one herself, and she really took me under her wing, right? So I went over there for sleepovers a lot of the times, and we would just talk. It was just her and I, and it was a good relationship. But I was over there for a sleepover this one night. Um, she had this pretty big bed, and her and I both slept in it. Um, I in the morning, so when we fell asleep, made sure to lock the door. And then we ended up going to sleep. I wake up to Art in he's somehow from what was going on in my mind, I was like, how the hell did he get in? But Art was in the bedroom there, jumping on the bed as I'm waking up. Like, I didn't even know he was in the house at all, the apartment at all. Um And then I was just so confused, like bewildered when I woke up. I was just like, what is happening right now? And then Art ended up saying something to this lady, and he was just like, basically asked what she was doing that day after he was done jumping on the bed. And it was just like as if like a child, let's say your own child going to your room as a kid, right? And jumping, wake up. That's basically what was happening. But it's a grown man. And I'm like, what is going on? And he left, and I talked to the lady, and I said, like I asked, I was like, how did he even get in there? Like, right? Like we locked the door. And so he had a master key, because he actually worked for this apartment building. And he got in with his master key to this young woman's apartment and just jumped on the bed and woke us up. My thought is, what was he doing there to begin with? Like, was it a shock to him when he saw that I was there too? I don't know, but I'm just saying that's my own commentary. I don't care. But
And Art
it
talks
was,
about this mooning culture. He spoke of it recently on a video that he put online, because there's been a lot of talk about this mooning. He has sent pictures around, and not just in those days, but a picture was found on Reddit of his bare backside, and he talks about
oh,
mooning, the mooning culture from
yeah,
Kitimat.
yeah.
What do you say?
So honestly, like I grew up in Kitimat. I was born in Kitimat. I've lived here, and I'm still here. um, and absolutely, the mooning culture. There was a mooning culture, but that was in the Harvest Church. That was brought in by Art. Um, None of my friends outside of the Harvest Church were mooning people. That was not a thing. None of the boys in high school, none of them were doing that either. That was an Art thing, and he brought it in, and yeah, that did become the culture of what happened in the Harvest in the youth, because he brought that in, right? So the youth group, they were all mooning each other, pantsing each other, and all that kind of stuff. But that was not like Kitimat culture at all. Like, I'm sorry, that's such a lie.
That's
So
art culture, you're saying?
yeah, that's all art culture. And yeah, that had nothing to do with, no.
Were
Yeah.
you there when Heather mooned people?
Oh no, no,
Do you
I don't
remember
remember that. No,
Okay.
no.
She told me about a story about that. So it was kind of like, this is what happened. The
Yeah.
mooning.
I
I
have
had a crazy
seen,
youth pastor, but my
yeah,
youth pastor, we never mooned anyone.
yeah. I have seen Art's bottom. I have not seen Heather's bottom, but shouldn't have happened to begin with. Like, come on. 38-year-old man, come on.
Yeah. I want to know a little bit about some of the things people say. You alluded to it already, was this culture of thou shalt not speak against God's anointed. Did anyone ever leave? Was there shunning that took place? Did you know Brittany,
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
his daughter?
Oh, that's the one. All right. So there was absolutely shunning that went on. I watched it happen with Brittany. I'll talk a bit about that. So, like Brittany, she was adopted, right? She came from an adopted family. She is Art's birth daughter, but she was adopted. But she came out to Kitimat to meet her birth dad and la di da, right? So in some aspects, you gotta also, you know, uh, anyway. So yeah, Brittany, um, I was good friends with her. She called me up the one night, and she told me that she's like, Tiona, I think I think I might be a cougar. And I was like, okay. And she's
Because
like,
Salem was a little
Salem,
younger
a
than
little
her,
bit
right?
younger, not a
Yeah.
lot, but just a little
Yeah.
bit, you know.
So
And
she found this man and she was kind of excited
yeah,
about it.
yeah, she was excited about it. And um, yeah, so you know, it was just um they got together. Everyone was actually supportive of it. I do believe even Art was supportive of it. It wasn't until Brittany and Salem decided that they were going to be going to the Baptist church because they just, you know, wanted to. And, you know, some concerns, which are very valid, gonna say very valid concerns, um, were happening. And so they decided they were going to the Baptist church. They did not decide that they were falling away from God. They did not decide to renounce God at all. Absolutely nothing of that. But Art took it very personally. Art had basically, tried to make his campaign against Salem,
And literally asking people not to go to the wedding?
asking people not to go to the wedding. Just, like unnecessary. Like at that point you got to look at yourself and you got to be like, what's going on in me that is causing me to be against my, you know what
My
I
own
mean? That's
daughter.
my own daughter.
And Salem is a
Um,
nice guy.
he's a,
Um,
he's wonderful. Like he has
he's
such
just
a
terrific.
heart. He has such a heart. He has a heart of a pastor, I swear. Both him and Brittany. Brittany, so I was one that was also shunned. Um, and so was Joe, right? And I got shunned pretty much when I got pregnant. Um, with my first kid is when I got shunned because it was out of wedlock. Um, and like I ran into Art and Heather, and Art had his nose right up in the air. And I noticed like when Salem and Brittany got together, they came after us. They came for us. Um, Joe
To love
put,
on you.
yeah. Um, Salem and Brittany both showed up at my house and they just came over. We talked and, we had a good time. And then finding out about Joe, they did the same thing with Joe. They were they were a lovely couple, and they honestly, they were for the broken, they were for the hurt, because that's kind of where I was at that moment, right? They were not they were not working this demonic way that Art tries to bring, and
Well, this
it's
is the shock, and I just thank you for your perspective because Brittany's death was said by Art to have been an Ananias and Sapphira moment where she was taken by God because she was rejecting God. Salem was taking her away. When in fact Salem's heart was beautiful. He sensed
absolutely,
that there was a bit of control there and that they should go to a different church, as you said,
yeah,
that there was definitely some issues. Then they get shunned. Did you know Brittany the weeks after they got married? Because Art said that she got sick immediately, either day of the wedding or the day after the wedding. Did you see
yeah.
her after the wedding?
She, I did run into her. She was not sick. She was not sick. Um, I was supposed to hang out with her um, the night before she had passed, that I heard she had passed on, and she messaged me saying she had a headache, a really bad one. And that was from the brain aneurysm that would have killed her, you know, a bunch of
Yes.
hours later. But she was not sick like that. I've seen Brittany sick because Brittany had lupus, right? I've seen her sick many of times
In
throughout
Art's
all
church.
the years in Art's church. Um, like she lost her hair, all of her hair at one point. Um, she often couldn't even be in the sun. Her fingers and hands would swell. She would puke. It's just a lot of stuff. She was very ill, but she was actually pretty healthy when she was marrying Salem. She was on a
Right.
really good, and you can't always with lupus. It's just you go through periods of times where you're healthy and when you're not. It has nothing to do, like, I'm not even going to go to be like, oh, it happened in Art's church. She had lupus and it goes
Right.
through, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to sit there and be like, oh, well, in
It's not
Art's
because of
church,
art.
it's
Not
not because of
because,
that. It's not because of
yeah.
any of that. She was sick. Okay. We all knew that. I've had to help Brittany many of times because she was too sick. Um, but no, she was healthy then. She
Wow.
wasn't in.
Why is art, to me personally, to many people, told this story? It doesn't seem to be true that she was sick. Do you
What
recall
I
him
have no
anything like this?
idea. For me, it's just more like when Brittany first died, and like I was there when Art first brought on the Anais and whatever story. Um, and I remember sitting back and I was disturbed by it, but I also thought to myself, he is a grieving father. Just let it be. And, like someone close to him, because I'm not close to him. Like I'm not a good friend of him and I don't, but someone close with him will help him guide him through this. Right. But as the years went on, the story got worse and worse and worse as to what he believed God did to have grace on Brittany by killing her. And then, all of a sudden Nolan Clark's getting pulled in. All of a sudden, and like
Patricia Bootsma. So
Patricia
Art,
Bootsma.
right, Art specifically said that Nolan Clark and Patricia Bootsma let him know that he had experienced an Ananias and Sapphira moment with his daughter's death. Now, I talked to Nolan Clark. He denies this. He did
Yeah.
not bring this up. He said Art was telling him the story about his daughter. Art was
Yep.
painting the picture to Nolan. This is what Nolan has said. I can't get a text or response from Patricia Bootsma. I'm
Yeah.
going to assume it's roughly the same story, that she
Yeah.
was hearing from Art these things that now no one can verify. In
Yeah.
fact, the opposite is true. She wasn't leaving the church. She was going to a different church. She wasn't walking away from God. She was walking with God with her new
Yeah.
husband, Salem. And
Yeah.
she was not sick.
No.
All of these things don't add up.
No. And here's the thing too, like I've thought about it quite a bit because I have like it causes grief when you hear Art say it over and over and over again. And you start thinking about like why is this even occurring, right? And so Art lost his girlfriend to murder how many years ago, and that was actually Brittany's mom. And from what he says, he was falsely accused of murdering Brittany's mom. Um, and obviously, in that kind of situation where you lose someone in such a harsh way, and then not only that, you're being blamed for it, that causes like PTSD. And then when Brittany died, it was almost like he was replaying this, but he was blaming Salem for Brittany's death. And it needed to stop. Like I do have a heart for Art when it comes to that. Because that's his daughter. But at the same time, you're trashing my friend's name over and over and over and over again. And Salem, who is also a good friend of mine. Like it has to stop. It's not right. It's wrong. And I'm just going to say it over and over because it got put online so many times that happened. So, yeah, it's just yeah.
It's just another thing that is hard to understand. Even Art, after I met with Salem and did a recording with Salem, and spoke to him very specifically about these things that Art had brought up, he still has no repentance for his version. And even after
Yeah.
Nolan Clark, we've heard nothing, no apology from Art. And it is his daughter's memory that he won't repair,
Yeah.
it seems.
Well,
And it
that's
would be good if he did.
insane. He needs, like, Art needs to apologize to Salem. And I will say this too, 2 months prior to Brittany passing away, well, it was like a month prior to them being married. Brittany and I had a talk, right? And we were talking, and she told me, she's like, I get it. I finally get it. She said that the love that, you know, how she was viewing God's love was kind of proportional to how she was viewing Art's love, like her father's love, right? And she was striving for Art's love. And she kind of viewed it kind of the same way as that she had to, in order to, get the love of the Lord and, just to feel that peace inside, that you had to, out of acts or, or being, right, or, you know what I mean? And then she's like, I get it. He's like, love is just there for me, no matter what. God's love is just there. And she's like, so, Art says there was this huge change in Brittany to what towards God. Um, it wasn't true. She just started seeing that she was striving for God's love the exact same way she was striving for Art's love, for her birth dad's love. And she kind of, she became whole. And I believe that she realized what love really was through Salem, right? Like Salem just loved her.
And Salem is just, he's the one who's been shepherding all of the survivors. He's the one who's been there for all of you, talking to people, gathering,
Absolutely.
asking me here and there if I would speak to people very gently to try to enlighten me, because I was protecting Art for a long time. I got mad at people if they tried to, tell me about what Art's, had done. I didn't understand. I didn't know any of you.
Yeah.
And I thought, Art treats me fine, other than he was a bit of a jerk one time, two times. He's fine, but he treated me well. But I didn't want to look at it. And that's kind of what's happening with a lot of people that are his friends. They've never been mistreated by Art, because Art does not mistreat those who are important to his life.
Yeah.
But what happens when he has control or power, that is the question. And you are all answering this question.
Yeah.
And Salem has been such a pivotal part of that. And
Absolutely.
Precious Joe, Joe's
too.
incredible testimony, just loving Art, just like Dustin. Seeing Art as a father figure, and yet his femur gets broken. Things happen that shouldn't happen in the presence of Art. And I know we've spent quite a bit of time, but I thank you for your time. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just truly believe too, even with the Joe thing, like he, in my opinion, was literally trying to humiliate Joe. And I do believe there was almost a jealousy of Joe's spirit, because Joe was actually very gentle. He was very sweet, very kind. People trusted him, so they came to him, right? And Art was kind of like training him up to be a pastor. But I think there was a sense of jealousy when it came to Joe. And I think that's why a lot of, how he described the pantsing situation where he got someone to pull the underwear down as well. That's humiliation. That's humiliation. That's disturbing.
Were you there?
I wasn't there, but Art bragged about these kind of things. He also bragged about giving Joe toilet water up at the pulpit. That was at the Pine Plaza. Because he can almost hardly, he doesn't see he's done anyone wrong. He doesn't. I know that he doesn't. He doesn't feel that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember
gross.
this. I think Joe told this story, didn't he, about the toilet water?
Yeah.
The calling people Jezebel and things like this. Did you ever see that kind of talk about young women?
Yeah, absolutely. It happened to a lot of the youth, the girls in the church. I'm not even going to share too much on details, but it happened to my sibling as well. She was cast out. Art and Heather looked at her and called her a Jezebel, casted her out of the church. Absolutely horrendous behavior of a pastor. That's all I can say. It happened to so many girls. It wasn't just one. It wasn't just two. It wasn't just three. It was so many. That's all I'm
Wow.
gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say about that. Mm.
Yeah, and I know that there's reasons that you want to be careful of what you have to say. You had mentioned too that with the mooning, I don't know if you've said in this interview, but the coming to the apartment and then mooning from the outside.
Yeah, that did happen. It was the exact same apartment. A lot of the people would just, you know, art of, oh yeah, just pull their pants down in the window. They thought
Yeah.
it was funny. To me, mooning is extremely disrespectful. It's extremely disrespectful. And they started getting all the youth to moon people, even just random people out in the public. And to me, that's just it's
Out in
absolutely
public?
abhorrent. Yeah, out in public. Just walking around, the mall, the store, the A&W. The youth were doing that everywhere afterwards. But again, that is not the culture of Kitimat. That's the culture of the harvest culture that Art brought in. That's nothing. We were not weird like that.
And yeah, and
So
you're saying, oh, when the leader does it, then
yeah,
everyone does it.
yeah,
Um,
and
it's the adding everything together, even from the current testimonies of the disrespect, the different versions of reality. Art said that Ayla was there when Joe's femur was broken. He had a different version of how that all happened. Then
Yeah.
he said Joe's, there was a healing. And then in another clip, he says Joe was in the hospital the next day,
yeah,
which he wasn't.
no, it's
Do you have any explanation for all the different versions that Art comes out with of things?
I think a part of me just thinks he doesn't even know what the truth is anymore, is kind of where it's at. Like he doesn't know where the truth is. So many things have happened too that probably are not important to him. So he doesn't remember it, right? Like, cause when something like your pants being pulled down in front of all your friends, including your underwear, you're going to remember every single detail of that. And I think Art simply didn't care. So, stories like that, he's not going to remember every detail because it wasn't vivid, it wasn't important to him. He just thought it was funny, or with purposes to humiliate, like it's it's just, yeah. But when it happened to you, you remember it. You
For
remember the
life.
details. You remember it. So
It's
that's
like
kind of
a
my
lack
give
of
and take.
empathy.
Yeah, absolute lack of empathy. He has no empathy in his body. Um, yeah, that's
One more story before I let you go, and thank you so much for
Yeah.
all of this. We've had some technical difficulties, and
Oh,
you've been so
along the way.
gracious. You are one of the kindest, most beautiful people, Tiona.
Oh,
I
thank you.
I love all of you guys. You're so
Oh.
great. There was a bunch of great people that got
Mhm.
together in Kitimat.
Yeah.
Michelle and Joe and
Absolutely.
yourself. The others, I have, more people that I'm talking to, but you did get in a bit of trouble, or, Art was upset with you, and he came to your house to talk to your parents. And he said something that stunned you, and has stayed with you to this day, to your parents.
Yeah. So, I must have been about 15 years old. I started skipping school a little bit, and I was kind of showing signs of a bit of trouble. There are definitely reasons for that. I wasn't big trouble. I wasn't drinking or, even I wasn't that bad, but I was showing signs of a bit of rebellion, I guess. And my parents didn't. They had asked Art. I guess they didn't know what to do with me, and they called Art, and Art came to the house, and Art basically said that they should put me in foster care to teach me a lesson. And they picked up the phone, they started calling, and I booked it to my grandparents' place, who lived a few blocks away. Um, it's absolutely like unreal that that was his suggestion, that that's what should happen
Put
to
you in
me,
foster care.
to put
Like,
me in
that'll be
foster
better.
care.
Kids in
Yeah,
foster care are so much better than being in the
so much
parents' own
better.
home. Okay.
And the thing that like is pretty sick that I remember about Art always talking about, um, the covering, your covering, right? That your parents are your covering. And he did always mention randomly, for whatever reason, he would mention that, that foster kids, they don't have that covering, right? So he's just, I don't know, there's something weird about it. He always mentioned it, just something weird. But yeah,
And
that
yet,
did,
when you're in trouble,
yeah.
he wants you to be put into the place where you don't have covering.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a foster care parent
Yeah,
saying the foster kids don't have covering.
yeah, yeah,
And we know that there's
yeah,
going to be more information on that coming
yeah.
out.
And that's like, after that situation, I ran to my grandparents, and my grandma was like, oh, like, you're welcome here anytime. So I stayed with my grandparents for a few months, and it was actually really amazing. That was my first taste of a teenage normalcy, to be honest. I wasn't going to the Harvest Church at that point. Um, I just went to school. I went to church, just their church. So it was the Baptist church. And that was just my life. It was just, there was a lot of sense to be perfect for whatever reason. Us youth, to always have it right. And that weight was lifted when I got to my grandparents' place. And it was a very freeing moment for me.
Tiona, I just want to thank you for your time, your honesty. I find you to be an extremely discerning and wise person. You were so much more discerning and wise than the adults, Art Lucier, in your life when you were a teenager. I just want to give you one last chance to sum up what you went through, and also in light of your own beautiful children that you have now. You're a mom. What do you make of what you went through, and what is continuing to happen, and what you know to be some of the further stories that are coming out, and all of the, as Art calls it, the swirl?
Yeah.
What can you sum this up for us today with?
So for me, I think that, summing everything up is pretty much when, first of all, to the parents of, if your kids are in church and they're telling you stuff's going wrong, look into it. If they don't want to be there, talk to them, figure it out. Figure it out if it's something that's going on in there or if it's something going on in their hearts. But, figure it out. Do that for them. Um, and um, the biggest thing too is just, for me in my life, like I do believe in God, but it is hard for me like to think about going to church now. It feels like an unsafe place. It doesn't feel like a safe place. And I think that, it's important to bring your kids to church. I do. And so it's something that I mentally struggle with big time due to everything that I've kind of been through. And um, just make sure that, if especially if there are rumors going on about your pastor, especially the ones that are coming out right now, get your kids out of there. Don't wait. Don't wait. Just get them out of there. Go to a different church. God is in more than one church. Um, just go, take them, save them. Do not let them this be their stories. Don't let this be their past. Like seriously. Um, and just enjoy, like yeah, art. There are more than one art out there. Um, there's more than one pastor that's causing havoc. secretly under the Word of God. That's my message. Just, if weird things are going on, take a look at it and get your kids out of there. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sad that it has affected you. I pray for you. You do have a relationship with the Lord. He loves you so much. And unfortunately, you were entrusted with something that God knew you would have discernment so that it would not happen to your children and it would not be continued in future generations. And I pray you find that safe place. I have some pastors that are safe, that are good men, that there is not even a hint of sexual immorality, that there is not even a thought. They are surrounded with people that love them and people that speak well of them. And I pray that you would be able to find that place and to bring that kind of safety to your children and to heal you. Tiona, I know this has been hard. All of it is hard, and you have been so courageous. I just think the world of you. You are a doll. I talk about you behind your back already because I just say she's just so brilliant. You really are. You have a wonderful way of communicating, and I know that God has his hand on you for good to bring about change. So thank you for being with us today. God bless,
Thank you so much,
Tiona.
Laura. You too.
Thank you. And I just want to say again, thank you to Tiona for taking time on Mother's Day. And her beautiful kids, you could hear them come in the house at one point. We had to do a little edit point because she wanted to make sure that they, were in another room when we were talking about the things that we were talking about. But we wish her a very happy Mother's Day and all of you as well. This has been difficult, and I'm hoping for the very best for all involved. I'm hoping for healing for those at Harvest. I'm hoping for repentance on behalf of Art. I am not certain why there's not more of that, except to say that so much hurt has happened. It's hard to say sorry, I guess, sometimes, but we're in danger of hell's fire. I have been in danger of hell's fire in my life when I ran with sin and sin took hold of my life and sin brought me to a dark place. And many years ago, that is exactly what happened. Some 33 years ago, and a very dark fall happened in my life. And that is the story in my book, Relentless Redemption. I wrote this book from the depths of my heart after realizing that God is a forgiving and loving God. And that redemption is for everyone. It's for every single person that's involved in this saga and any saga across the world. That God's love never fails. But he is a just God, and there's a few requirements. One of his requirements is that there would be repentance. And repentance has a certain sound, and it doesn't sound like excusing your behavior. It doesn't sound like that. But when we run quickly to repentance, God forgives. It has to be genuine, though. And for some of us, I know for me, the Lord had warnings for me. And the fall was so great that I didn't know how I would rise again. And I certainly didn't think I deserved it. I didn't think I deserved anything. I was so broken before the Lord that I thought my sins would disqualify me forever. I didn't know if the blood of Jesus that washes white as snow could really work for me because I was just too great a sinner. And all the details are in my book. And I wrote this because I found something out that God's relentless redemption absolutely sets us free. That the power of what he did on the cross is everything. And when I got that, I didn't need a position. I didn't need to be put into ministry. I didn't need to get back what I had lost. I did not need it. I found out that when I was on the floor of my chaos, all I needed was Jesus. And that's all I had for a long time. And it was all I needed. And it set me free and it healed me. So I know there's forgiveness for everyone. The darkest, vilest sinners are set free. I love that song, They Baptized Jesse Taylor. Do you know that one? It's by the Gaithers, and it's about this really bad dude, but he comes to Jesus and they baptize Jesse Taylor. I don't know, whenever I hear that song, I just, I want to cry, because when God steps in, he heals everything. And that is there in this situation. But there has to be a point of breaking. And I pray for Art Lucier that that is the point we get to. And he's the only one that can make that decision. I don't have any ill will towards him. I just know there's some things. When we humble ourselves before the Lord, he will pick us back up. He will set our feet on the rock. And whatever that looks like, we leave it to God. But our response must be brokenness, humility, repentance. And then God can fix anything. And I pray for that more than you know. As one who's been broken, I pray for that. And this has been hard. Art has gone online and he said that he wants to bring litigation. I have no doubt one of the people that he wants to sue is probably me. And if I have to go through that process, I will go through it with honesty, integrity. I hope we don't get there. I don't think it's a good idea, because there's some things that are being brought to light because they need to. And God loves Art enough to bring him to the end of himself. I appreciated later in my life that God brought me to the end of myself in my brokenness so that I did not miss eternity. God could not let me get away with what had happened because he loved me. God always disciplines those he loves. When we stop fighting to justify our error, when we release it and we choose brokenness and repentance, and we choose whatever comes with that, that is true freedom. And in this season in North America, with so many falling, we're going to have Ron Cantor on this week. And that's to talk about what's happening with Dr. Michael Brown. I don't know why so many people feel that they need to justify when clearly you shouldn't be justifying things that come out that are not true. I mean, it's hard. So I want to tell you what I do right now. I humble myself before God. I had a lot of time on the Coquihalla. That's a 4-hour trip from the mainland to get back to where I live. And I talked to God a lot on that trip. I asked him to show me the error of my ways. I asked him for forgiveness for my sins. I asked him to bring me into a place of complete submission to him so that I would be able to do what he asked me to do with all integrity, without fear, with courage, but to speak the truth and to speak it in love and to stand, having done all to stand. God is doing a new thing in the church, and I believe that when it's done, something great is coming. The greatness that he's going to reveal is the healed church, where righteousness and holiness are returned, where there's a reformation of righteousness. And anyone who is not standing for that, holiness in the pulpit, holiness in our personal lives, if you don't stand for that, you're not hearing God's voice. God is clearly saying, we got to clean this up, kids. Sometimes a dad steps into a home and he's got lots of kids and he starts going through their bedrooms and it's a mess. And you know, in the way that a dad does, it's a little threatening. And he says, you guys better clean up those rooms. Well, moms do that too, but not on Mother's Day. We ask for rooms to be cleaned because we love our children and it's a mess. And right now, God is cleaning the bedrooms of his children. And he's asking that things be made right. So we humble ourselves and we submit to that. My website is Laura-Lynn.tv. And if you appreciate the work that my husband and I do, then thank you for your support. Thank you for continuing to bless us, to help us. This is not an easy job. Some people have come on side with us, and some people say, you know, you're not talking about all that, you know, political stuff or all the current events that you used to talk about, Laura-Lynn, and so I'm just checking out. This isn't interesting. Okay. So I have to be obedient, and I'm not here for clicks. I'm here for doing the work of God, whatever he asked me to do. So when you go to our website, you support that. I think we need strong voices that are willing to speak the truth. And that's what we're standing together with you to do, to bring strong voices for the Lord at this hour in love. God is going to heal our churches so that people like beautiful Rose and beautiful Tiona will feel safe there. Church should be safe. That is our message. When you go to our website, that donate button right there, you can donate anonymously. We'll never know who you are. Some of you like to do that. You can donate. You can become a monthly partner. You can donate once in a while. You can also use e-transfer or Zelle in the States at Laura-Lynn Live at protonmail.com. And any of our emails you can make donations on those through Zelle or e-transfer. And we also have snail mail, box 1065, Vedder Crossing in Chilliwack, British Columbia. And there is a postal code V2R3N7. Thank you so much. And if any of you would like some hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin, contact Mia at SozoHealth at proton.me. And if you want some gold or silver, boy, is this a good time to get some of that. Don't leave your money sitting around in a bank where it is corrupted by the government. Get it into some gold and silver. That's what we think is a good idea for your protection. And so we believe in that, so we present it to you. I want to read to you today from the scriptures. I want to read to you today in closing from James 3 and verse 1. It says, "Not many of you should become teachers, my fellow believers, because you know that we who teach will be judged more strictly. We all stumble in many ways. Anyone who is never at fault in what they say is perfect, able to keep their whole body in check. When we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can turn the whole animal. Or take ships as an example. Although they are so large and are driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder, wherever the pilot wants it to go. Likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boasts. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark." It's interesting that just one tiny little sentence can light some things up that maybe we didn't want lit up. So I want to read this to you as well. And this is 2 kinds of wisdom, it says in verse 13. Who is wise and understands among you? Let them show it by their good life, by deeds done in the humility that comes from wisdom. But if you harbor bitter envy and selfish ambition in your hearts, do not boast about it or deny the truth. Such wisdom does not come down from heaven, but it is earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. For where you have envy and selfish ambition, there you find disorder and every evil practice. It's interesting what it says here. It says if you have envy or selfish ambition, these are very fleshly desires. Envy is where you look at others and you want something. You are lusting for something else, whether it's power, money, position. Envy, you want something. You're jealous of others, basically. And selfish ambition, where you put your character aside so that you can just get things. Become a somebody. All of these things, so anti-biblical, so against what the Word of God is saying. Listen to these verses. In verse 17 of James 3, but the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure. It's pure. Amen. What has happened to purity? What has happened? And then peace-loving. Do you love peace? It's a good thing. It's a good thing to just want your life to be peaceful. Sometimes we gotta fight. Sometimes it's a time for war and it's not a time for peace. But you love peace. You're peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere, peacemakers who sow in peace reap a harvest of righteousness. Amen. May the harvest of righteousness that God wants to see at this time on His earth, may it be executed through us, through the seeds that we sow. Thank you so much for joining me. Happy Mother's Day. God bless. You know, it's not easy to deliver the truth of what our sick world is doing, but for some of us, we feel that we have no choice. Because if we are silent about these abominable things, then we are letting evil go unchecked, and we cannot do that. For those of you wonderful people who are writing me and are sharing your encouragement, I am deeply grateful. Thank you for all the letters that you've been sending. Thank you for the donations and the support. I found out that in order to speak the truth, you have to become very, very strong. If you would go to my website at www.laura-lynn.tv, you'll find all of the ways that you can contact me. Remember, my friends, all is well. All is well. Thanks for joining me.